Hola, bienvenido. Mi nombre es Brittany, or El Rey Brittany, the King Brittany. It's KingBritneyChanel, you already know. So this video is going to be about how I became bilingual, okay? Yo hablo español y inglés, okay? Estoy aprendiendo en la escuela. So I learned in school, okay? And I'm just gonna tell y'all the whole origins of why I started speaking Spanish, how it happened, how I learned to read and write, and that kind of good stuff. So we're gonna get into it in this video, and I'm gonna show some clips of me actually in school learning. Let's get into the video.
What is you doing?
All right, so let's take it from the top. We're doing the formal. So,
Buenos días, señorita.
buenos días, señor.
¿Cómo se llama usted?
Me llamo Veronica, ¿y tú?
Soy el profesor González Rades.
Encantada de conocerle.
El gusto es mío.
¿Cómo está
Something like
usted?
that. It's something like that.
Bien, gracias. That's your part.
Where we at? Oh,
Bien, gracias. ¿Y usted?
it got quiet. I ain't even finna say.
Okay, y'all. So this video is going to be about, like I said, how I became bilingual, the whole little story and whatnot. Hold on. ¿Dónde está mi agua? Oh, actually. Your girl was thirsty because when we be talking on these videos, man, I did that documentary. Woo, yo necesito. Okay. Wait, one more time. Estoy bebiendo agua. All right, y'all. But anyway, before I get into it. So I think I shared a little bit of this before on a live before, but my family is a very diverse family, okay? So as a little girl, I was brought up around family members that, are Dominicana and, Boricua, so Puerto Rican, Dominican, okay? And, a lot of different Spanish places. And then also I took my ancestry DNA test, and the Native American side that had came up, all of the places were Latin American countries, and they are all Spanish speaking countries. So that intrigued me a little bit more about that aspect of myself. So a lot of the countries that came up, was like Belize, Mexico, just a lot of different Peru, like a lot of different Spanish speaking countries where Native Americans were originally came up on the ancestry DNA. Now, I know that that's not their original language, but I plan on visiting those countries, and that's the language that they speak there today in those countries, okay? Just like the same way I'm speaking English for the sake of this video, because I'm going to be sharing how I learned how I learned how to read and write in Spanish. Now, growing up, I was raised by some Dominicans, for a little while, and that being mi abuela, okay? So mi abuela, God rest her or whatever. But she was my step grandmother, and basically, I was like very kind of curious about the culture. And so, like, in the house, sometimes, like, when I was a little girl, there would be commands in Spanish sometimes, or there will be foods, like, when you experience the culture. Like, I like empanadas, arroz con pollo, that sort of thing. So, I was raised on that type of food. Like, I experienced that type of food, and that sort of thing. And like I said, my family members were of Afro-Latino, Latina descent, as well as, other Spanish-speaking countries, So, like, basically, soy de Nueva York. So, me being from New York, I am from New York, okay? I am of New York. It's a melting pot of people. So, you get to be immersed in the culture. You get to see different things. You get to experience different types of people, and that was another reason why I was so fascinated with the culture. I would say the Afro-Latina or the Latina culture, because it was all around me. Like, there would be like, you know, it would be the block parties and the Spanish music. Well, I wouldn't say, y'all know how they play, you know, bachata, and like people do the merengue and different dances at the block parties, like especially being from the Bronx. It's like Latina people all around, okay? And Spanish is all around. So you, like, I have cousins that, like I said, are Puerto Rican and, you know, Dominican, and there's Spanish all around you. You liable to be at the family reunion and somebody is busting out in Spanish. So coming up also, you know, when I was around, you know, one of my parents, pretty much I would learn to eavesdrop, because, you know, y'all know, like, when you're around people that can speak Spanish, they start to speaking in Spanish. Not all, but some. They start to speak in Spanish so that you don't understand what's going on, or if it's adult conversations. If you've ever been in that situation, let me know in the comment section down below, okay? So one of my parents was speaking Spanish, okay, while I was younger, and I wanted to learn how to listen. I know that sounds mischievous, but it's true. And so I would learn to listen in Spanish. Like, I would learn. That's how I learned first, like, listening. And then y'all know, like, some of the adults, like, when you're first learning a language, I don't know why, but you always learn all the bad words first. I don't know why. It just happened. I ended up learning bad words first. But then I started to, like, you can learn languages. I learned more so from listening. So I learned more from listening and practicing talking to, you know, different family members. And then as I went to school, y'all know, like, you have to take a language class in school. So I'm like, hey, I already, like, you know, slick learned how to read and write in Spanish. So it would be, like, so hilarious, because my abuela would send us birthday cards and she would try to write in English. And some of the, like, when we were little, she would say, like, do you want Cheerios? But she was really trying to say cereal. So we would have to learn how to understand Spanglish and that sort of thing. Like, we would have to learn how to communicate and that sort of thing. And it would just be so sweet reading her cards, because my abuela or mi abuela would be like Brittany, but she wouldn't say my name with a T. She would put BRIDNEY, because, you know, she's trying to speak English, but her first language, I guess, was Spanish. So it was so hilarious. Excuse me, y'all, I hit something. But the interesting part about this whole situation is I got to go to school, and, you know, when you first start going to school, it's kind of like a prerequisite type of class. And so you have to take the class, you know, to get into other classes, because it's like a mandatory type of thing before you graduate. You have to have a language, like a second language. I don't know if they're doing that with every school, but the schools I would go to, you would have to speak you would have to learn another language. Now, some people, they really didn't take it serious and they just take the class and move on. But I started taking the class seriously. And then I went to uni. And so when I went to uni, I'm like, okay, I have to take a language class, really? And I'm like, okay, this is the easiest language, because this is a language that is spoken in my house. I know, like, how to read. So the beauty about Spanish is there's a lot of words in English that kind of are similar to words in Spanish, but there's also words that could trick you because they sound like something, but it's not. And it's hard when you're bilingual, because you're trying to not communicate. You're trying to not communicate with the rules of the one language in the other language. So what I would do was, before taking, like, my classes, like, I would use Duolingo. I think it's Duolingo. I'm getting tongue twisted here. Duolingo, and I would just practice, or I would look at shows. Y'all know the telenovelas? I would look at the shows in Spanish, and I would look at shows that had the Spanish subtitles on it to learn and to really know what dialect and what everyday language, because you don't want to be up here sounding like Google Translate or whatever. My teacher hated that. Like, if people would look at Google Translate, like, she would be so upset. So I took, you know, the beginner Spanish, even though I kind of felt like a lot of it I knew already. A lot of the information I knew already. And then now I'm taking another type of Spanish, and then after that I'll take another type of Spanish after that. So I'm learning in uni, and it's helping me to learn more of the grammar, because it's easy to speak Spanish in slang, but when you have to be formal, because it's like with Spanish, it's like who you're talking to, because okay, prime example, I'm gonna give you this example. In English, we're so possessive and we have so many different words, like this is my cup, or you know, the girl, and we always have to put somebody's possession of somebody on stuff. And in Spanish, it's like you learn because it's like whoever you're directing it to, you don't have to put that in there. It's kind of like implied with whether you use ya, nosotros, that sort of thing. And then like when you conjugate the words, because you know how we use, like if we're currently doing something, you know, like I'm talking to you right now, but then there's some, you know, endings of the words that's hablando, you know, that sort of thing. Like, so you have to learn how to conjugate AR verbs and that sort of thing. But I mostly learned also by using everyday vocabulary and just looking at, you know, okay, you know, the room that I'm in is an oficina, okay? Or the kitchen is la cocina, okay? Or if you're in the living room, la sala. So the things that are like everyday things, that's what I had to learn, because it helped me to build my vocabulary as I went on and that sort of thing. So you can use different apps. Like I love, like I said, Duolingo. I don't know why I keep on saying lingual, like I'm trying to say bilingual. It's Duolingo, like lingo, like you talk. So that was really good. And there's like other things, like I said, I would watch shows, movies with the Spanish subtitles, or if it was in Spanish with the English subtitles, so just to get, you know, an ear for it. And then I would always practice reading materials in Spanish. There's so many good sites, like, oh my gosh, like when I was in uni, we had to do this extempore to practice our Spanish, and oh my god, just like having to record yourself speaking Spanish so that the teacher can listen to you is like, oh my god, like it's mortifying when you're first learning. But if you're a person like that, you really are serious about it, you can't be scared. You have to like jump in, and you know, people kind of will be okay, like they'll help you figure stuff out. Well, I'm not gonna say all people, but like I noticed like a lot of like Spanish people, like if your Spanish is not all of that good, they kind of get the gist of what you're trying to say, but like they'll kind of help you out with words. So I noticed that like a lot. So that was good, just having like friends and family that speak that language. And ultimately I want to become trilingual, okay? I want to become, like, I want to speak Chinese. Like I learned a little bit of Vietnamese, but I want to learn Chinese, and I also want to learn Japanese too, and Korean and different stuff like that, because I love the culture. I watch a lot of those dramas, okay? Like I watch a lot of K-pop dramas and a lot of you know, those dramas, okay? But overall, I would mostly say I learned, or I became bilingual from practice, okay? You have to practice get you a friend that's gonna commit to, practicing with you. Like, I be sending people messages in Spanish, okay? Or like, I'll write or refer to different foods in Spanish as I'm talking in English to practice. Like, okay, this is a manzana, apple, or things like that, or plátano. Like, a lot of people, when I refer to certain foods in Spanish on my main channel, they kind of get confused because most people would call them plantains, but I was raised calling them plátanos. So it just depends. Some people don't get confused though, like if I'm on my main channel doing it. It's only so that I can practice repetition and that sort of thing and build my vocabulary. So I hope y'all enjoyed my video on how I became bilingual. And I hope that, y'all like the video. Definitely subscribe to my channel, SaeBritneyChanel, and I will see y'all on the next video.